For the next 5 weeks, my mates and I are taking you on an incredible adventure. We're cutting up north through the deserts of Victoria, heading west onto the border and heading south as far as the ocean. This is the Your 4x4 Border Track Adventure. I'm Simon Christie, come along for the ride. Your 4x4 is presented by Iveco, Trek Hardware, ARB, Cooper, Piranha, Nava and Carryboy.
We're starting our 10-day trip into some of the best parts that Victoria has to offer.
National parks, some state forests.
Lots of sand, lots of desert conditions, some really interesting four-wheel driving.
We're mainly concentrating on the border track on this trip.
It's the infamous border between South Australia and Victoria.
Clearly state at the front that it is unmanned, that it is not graded in any way, it's just left as it is.
It changes. You've got red sand, white sand, hard-packed dirt. This is exactly what we've come here to do.
Things really amped up. Now we're getting into the really fun stuff.
Monstrous big uphill sand climb.
Must be one of the highest spots in the area.
A number of paths to select from. The hill was very soft and powdery.
The cars were working to get up there.
The up, down and side to side, it just seemed relentless.
We discovered some enormous holes.
There were bog holes that swallowed up the big Iveco.
Wow, were they deep. I looked to the right and I couldn't see anything, it was just wall.
Hang on, I've got to think about this.
Oh, I wouldn't be moving that out. I'll think about that before you move it. I'll be thinking about that one.
We're starting our 10-day journey in the northwest Victorian town of Hopetoun. As we waited for the usual suspects to turn up, the boys decided to get in a quick battle of wits.
We're in a small town called Hopetoun, an absolutely beautiful area. You've got Lake Lascelles behind us, which is right on the outskirts of town.
This whole area has got lots and lots of history. So we're looking forward to doing some exploring in the area, and it should be absolutely fantastic.
And we're out where I really wanted to go for a long time. It's been about 10 years since I've done the border track.
The border track's iconic. Glad to hear, being a South Aussie, that we are going to venture into the South Australian section for a bit.
With the familiar faces ready and raring to go, we were also lucky to be joined by one of my international off-roading mates who had recently hosted us on his home turf. As one of China's leading ARB distributors, ARB head office had decided to hook them up with a car of their own.
Hello， 大家好，我是运良。台上全部改装的产品呢都是 ARB 的产品。能够这次参加4WT TV 的这个深度越野呢，我也觉得特别开心。我还是挺期待的。
The last trip we did was a Victoria High Country. For this trip, it's all about desert. We've got all the right equipment on board, recovery gear, straps, boards. We've also got some great cars on the trip.
We bought the trusty Trip Prado again. It's done a few miles now, but it's well set up. We've got ARB frontal protection, underbody protection, and the new AT3 LT. I'm running them around about 20 PSI.
My car, as you can see, it's been on a few trips. It's set up the way I like it, most importantly with a canopy. I've got it packed up to the brim. More than likely someone might have something else that needs to go into the back. We're also running Nava 215s on the front LEDs and a light bar on the roof, which is just going to light up everything.
We drove the actual flat bottom of Lake Albucature, which is completely and absolutely dry. It was dry as a chip. You could see the sheep prints, you could see obviously the emus and all sorts of other prints all around the bottom of that lake.
It was quite amazing to see the dry lake bed. It fills up about every 27 years. It's been dry for 25. It was very soft and powdery in the middle, so if you weren't careful, you could actually get yourself stuck. It certainly wasn't wet.
With the sun beating down and the journey well underway, the crew looked forward to what I had planned for our border track adventure. Next on the itinerary, I had the convoy hitting the sand for the first time, but before that, I got them to air down for maximum traction and a more comfortable ride.
We had to tackle that amazing Pella track. Now, Pella track is not typical of this sort of countryside here. It is a sandy track, but there is literally thousands of corrugations. And the corrugations aren't close together like, but they're metres apart. So it's like going over the ocean, over the waves, up and down, up and down.
We headed on to Pella track. Now, Pella track was hard in sections, easy in some, very rough in some. If you weren't watching what you were doing, especially as it come on to dark, you could actually get stuck on a couple of hill climbs, which I did.
Unfortunately, I had a few issues with my ute. Driving up along the tracks, a couple of ruts, didn't do, it wasn't a really bad track, but unfortunately I did snap a shocker.
Lurch had a minor problem with the shock absorber. And this is something that can happen, obviously, even on well-prepared vehicles and with everything done right.
Poor old Luciano and his Ranger once again. It seems to be a common thing on these trips, so I think it's just bad luck.
Watch out for your head, Simon, seriously.
Simon's come down, heard the noise, went underneath it, had a look and found it.
Shock absorbers are fantastic things. Now we've traced the noise down to this area, and just lying under here looking at the coil here, the coil looked like it was bending a little bit to me. We can see it's rubbing here on the sway bar. But if it's rubbing on the sway bar, why would it be curling down towards it? That gave me a bit of a hint to look at the base, and here's the base, which should be sitting on top of the eye here. So the base should be welded here. It's snapped off its mount, which is twisted, and this is now dropped down into the wishbones. So as we're articulating through the sand here, that's what's making the noise. Now if we're driving nice and gently, maybe we can get away with that, but for day one of our 10-day trip, that's not good news, Luke. All right, let's get some filming done out of the light we've got left. Let's move.
We didn't hit camp till about 9 o'clock at night because we had a load of Humpty-Doos that we were getting over.
We eventually arrived into our campsite last night, set the tents up and had a fantastic night's sleep, a beautiful night here in the desert.
Didn't get into camp till nearly 9 o'clock last night. It's a bit different for us, but we thoroughly enjoyed the day.
Got the fire going. It got down to around 6 degrees last night, but a beautiful starlit night, and we're there eating hamburgers around the fire at around 20 past 9, I reckon.
Made it into camp. Michael cooked up an amazing feed. I was really shocked at how quickly he actually got such an amazing burger knocked up.
So we got 17 people on this trip, a lot of people to feed. And typically we got a lot of cooking on this trip because out in the desert, there's no drive-through. so I can guarantee I've got a lot of food to produce. Lucky I got trusty Luciano who'll give me a hand.
It's a lot of fun actually. I enjoy it. Mike's already got his menu planned, but I've got to say his food is spot on. For an Italian, I'm impressed.
We settled in at Broken Bucket campsite well after sundown on our first day on the tracks. Following a crisp night, we woke to the scent of bacon and eggs and coffee, an ideal kickstarter for the day.
Well, good morning, guys. Cup of tea time. We've just had a fantastic breakfast, greeted here at Broken Bucket Camp. Now, this is a beautiful spot to camp at. It's nice and flat. And the name Broken Bucket, I believe, comes from a broken bucket, which is pretty logical.
We had a really cold night last night, so I got up, put another log on the fire, so that when everyone got up this morning, we had a nice warm fire to stand around. Got the croissants with bacon and eggs happening and a bit of cheese. Everyone was happy, full and ready to hit the road by about 8 o'clock.
We had a little bit of drama with Simon's Iveco. The pump that pumps water out of the very cavernous water tank stopped working. By tapping it a few times, we got it going again, but the magic tap stopped working, unfortunately, so we have no water pump at the moment. Okay, no, there's no water in the filter.
I left the Broken Bucket campsite this morning about 5 minutes earlier, just to ring Jake from Narva because he's coming in tonight, and just to pick me up a pair of shocks for the ute. He's done that for me, which is fantastic, so we can actually fix that tonight so we can continue with the trip with no concerns.
We left camp this morning actually on time, which is great. But we did quite a bit of distance on a main dirt road, around the 80 kilometres an hour, before we hit the tracks.
Bit of high-speed driving this morning, which is good. Then down to more of the, again, more humps and bumps and lots of it. This area is Wyperfield National Park. We've been to Lake Albucacha. This area is really, really pretty.
Simon actually said to me 2 days ago when we were doing our shopping, he said, Mike, what are you going to do with all those eggs? So I've got about 9 dozen eggs inside in the car, not one broken.
I met everyone back at the Big Desert State Forest on Brush Cutter's track. And from there, we did the same type of track that we did yesterday, but softer sand, a few more hills, a couple of low range points, but it all went smoothly.
We're halfway through day 2. Beautiful weather, we're in the middle of a beautiful track. But guess what? I haven't had a chance to get behind the steering wheel, neither of the other 2 girls. Now I'm gonna kick that Simon out and I'm gonna go for a drive.
Copy, Bob.
Would you like to join me for a drive?
Sounds like a good idea. How did you get Simon out? Are we going to do the same here?
咱们女性开始上路了。
我就直接过去开是吧？
对对对。
I'm not loved anymore.
Sorry guys, once I start I can't slow down. I'm trying to avoid the track because the track's a bit bumpy.
Can't read. Too bouncy.
Eleanor, stop reading. It's too bouncy.
Make sure Alan takes some photo for you. That's what the other 2 husbands doing. Let me know if it's too bumpy.
Okay, I'm recording a video. This is Barb driving.
Yeah, well, I reckon Barb drives better than you. She's not kicking up as much stuff.
Oh, nice.
My goodness, this is bouncy. This really is. This is absolutely amazing. It's been bugger all rain. It is a desert, and it's just as green as it. This area is very reminiscent of the Simpson Desert. So if you want to hone your skills in sand driving without driving all the way across to the Simpson, coming up here is a great place to start.
Stop.
Slow down. Slow, go back.
Convoy coming to a stop. Looks like Schumann's bog.
I think she's a stop. She's at the top.
No, she's bogged.
It's not bogged. Just stopped. Nice.
pulled up for lunch in a beautiful little spot, and just up behind us there's some quite massive hill climbs that we're all going to have a bit of a go at and see if we can make it at the top.
Now, for those of you who are regular viewers of the show, you'll recognise those 3 dunes. They're the dunes that beat us last time. We're actually quietly confident we might have another crack at these today. There's lots of new cars here today, lots of different drivers. There's even some Chinese ingenuity out there, so we'll see how they go.
When putting together this trip, I made sure to throw some challenges at the crew that even the most experienced drivers would balk at.
We looked up and there to the right of us was this monstrous sand dune. And I'm like, we're not getting over it, no way. 5 different tracks across the face of it. And some people had a better crack than others.
Al's about 2/3 of the way up and he is stationary. It's not happening.
反正我就尝试了用高速四驱，用低速，反正各种各样的都尝试了，把差速器锁打开，把防侧滑打开，然后到了很远再去这个往上爬。
Here we go again.
Simon had a good crack at it. Didn't make it.
Come on, you bastard!
Really?
反正每次到了那个临界点的时候就上不去了，那就每一次还想再跃跃欲试，这个也是一个乐趣，反正挺好玩的。
My old mate, Chocolate Eclair man Alan Johnson, decided he'd try it a different way, put it in low range. I'd say him and Simon were neck and neck of getting up there at a low crawl pace.
Go Mike, go Mike, go!
I was getting off this mammoth mountain of a sand dune.
He's digging. He certainly moved a lot of sand.
And of course what happened? I got bogged. Young came straight down, pulled out his winch with the ARB car, attached it to the front of me. 2 minutes later he popped me out of the hole I dug myself into, and away we went.
Looking at the sky here, it's grey and it's overcast, and we actually have accommodation tonight. We do, however, have a little bit of bush mechanics to do on the carryboy car. We've got to put some struts and shockers into that to see if we can get that running up again perfectly. So a little bit on our plate, but quite an exciting afternoon, looking forward to it.
We finished up Jacob's Well retreat after our big day. It was good because I had a solid car park, so I could park up the ute and do some urgent repairs that needed to be done.
Stephen, can we borrow your jack, please?
Yeah, sure, no worries.
Al, I'd like to have a quick pre-look at this and maybe get as much work as we can done in the daylight.
Stripped in definitely, so Jake gets here.
That should be connected firmly. Have a seat, Al.
This is all the fun of the fair, isn't it? Actually, do we need that? No, we don't need that one off at all. We just need that one, don't we?
I thought you've already broken that.
Yeah. Yo! Where'd the nut go? Okay, gently, gently. Yes! That's the master moment. We filmed that, I hope. Jake arrived and brought in with us the parts to fix Luch's car, which worked out really, really well.
Big Jake, hello. Good to see you.
How are you going? So I rolled into Jacob's Well retreat last night at around 6, so just on dark.
Jake's new car is something special. It's one of those Raptor things. The suspension on it is supposed to be worlds above everything else. I cannot wait to see what happens when he gets it airborne, see how well it lands, see if the eggs survive in the back or anything else.
Yeah, you can see what we've already done to one range, haven't we?
I know. I know. Let's hope that fate doesn't come to me. So where do you want me to pull up so I can distribute the different pieces?
Oh, look, you can park just over here.
Yep. I got a bit of a mayday call just before I was leaving. Luch spent most of yesterday crawling along, so I needed to scooch off and pick him up a new front shock for that.
With the crew that we're with, everyone's willing to lend a helping hand. It's like a brotherhood.
One for one.
We're going back up again.
Straight up.
Look at that, bloody awesome. Oh, close, but no cigar.
Keep going down.
Down a bit more. Coming.
Keep going down.
Yes!
The nut. Where is it? I don't know.
All down. CV seems good.
All turning okay?
After a long night on the tools, we all headed to bed exhausted, except for Luciano, who headed out to test our car park repair job. We kicked off early the next morning, everyone excited about our planned route, though there were still concerns about the state of the Ranger. But with a collective sigh of relief, it was Luciano who led us out of Jacob's Well. Be watching next week as we head further into the Murray Sunset National Park towards the famous Pink Lakes. Our chef Mike opens a mobile Chinese restaurant and we hit the most northern point of our journey.